you're looking live. I'm here at 144 Freeman's Bridge Road at Solid Service Craftsman and Paul Perry Kitchens. This is a wonderful, wonderful kitchen. Take a look at this place here. This is 50,000 square feet of Solid Surface Craftsman. Blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of love goes in to what goes on behind the scenes here. This is where everything is manufactured, everything is fabricated, everything is made. This is just an incredible, expansive, and here's what this is. This is a working shop. This isn't, where you come in with white gloves and you come in with a tucked-in shirt and you don't expect to work. This is where all the magic happens. This business, which Al started almost 30 years ago with a toolbox and a hammer, has now grown into an 8-figure business, and in 2017 should break the $10 million mark. This is unbelievable. So what I'm going to do is I'm walking here through the shop, and then I'm going to go into the office and give you a little 1-minute tour of the office, and then we're going to meet up with my marketing director, Andrea Seeger, who's going to do the filming of the interview with the owner of this incredible company, Alan Boulant. So as you can see, there's just so many different things that are going on here. You've got receiving, you've got shipping, you've got fabrication, you've got manufacturing. Take a look at this. Sketches on the wall. You know, when business is being done in the real world, it's not always in a beautiful notebook or an iPad. Sometimes you got to write things on the wall and you just get things done. And I'll tell you, just for knowing Al for 20 years, every day he shows up, he's on the do whatever it takes program to get the job done and to make his customers happy. Here's a sketch room, blueprints. Here's some measurables on the wall. We go into the office here. This is just so exciting for me. So I love this guy and I love this business. What an incredible job that he does. We'll go into the war room here. Go into the war room. Take a look around. Plans that are made. There is the installation whiteboard. Take a look at the installation whiteboard. You think they're busy? Oh my God. Hundreds and hundreds of jobs each week being done in the Capital District for happy customers. We're coming in here through the showroom. Hey Phil, how you doing?
Hey Gregory, how are you?
Wonderful.
Good to see you.
Hey, how you doing? Al owns the joint, Phil runs the joint. It was great to see him as we're coming in. Take a look at this. This is the working showroom that Al built from scratch. You've got the highest technology electronics sound system, a couple 100-gallon saltwater fish tank behind the bar. And then over here you've got a commercial kitchen, which is used, I think, just about every day. We'll talk to Al about that as well. Take a look at the custom cabinetry, custom trim, wall treatments. I mean, they do it all here. Paul Perry Kitchens and Solid Surface Craftsman. This is incredible. We're walking through the working showroom over to the Paul Perry Kitchen side. Incredible. Granite samples, cabinetry samples. People come in on the retail side, take a look at what they want, and they're treated like kings and queens. Just does an unbelievable job here. So let's go back. I'm going to give the camera to my marketing director, Andrea Seeger, andreaseeger.com, and Andrea's going to do the interview and the taping here as we sit down with my good buddy. There he is. There's my good buddy. What's up, AB?
Greg, how you doing?
Good. Thank you for sitting down with us here. I know we talked, many times over the years where I said, you know what, Al, you're only doing $2 million a year. It's not time for that interview yet. Oh, you're only doing $4 million. So I thought now that probably in 2017 you're going to break $10 million, it'd be a good time to sit down and chat, do a little video and a little interview, because this really encapsulates a 30-year career, right?
Correct.
So entrepreneurship is something that's really passionate to my heart because I feel like it's a lifestyle. And I think I talked to you about the Harley Davidson. Someone drives a motorcycle and all of a sudden they want to go out and get a Harley. But they don't realize what goes with the Harley is the lifestyle of owning a Harley. And you live, breathe, eat, and sleep it every single day. So just talk to me about what you think entrepreneurship is and how being an entrepreneur yourself has changed your life.
Well, I think that definition is probably reviewed in many, people are going to have different opinions. And I wanted to own my own business since I was 15 years old, watching my father. My father had his own business, auto repair shop, gas station, and he built it up in quite a nice little operation until he got sick. And college and moved out here, and I tried a couple things. Worked at Stewart's, was going to do the management thing. I just didn't like it. I wanted to kind of control my own time and future. So I just decided to go into business for myself. So I guess what's the definition of an entrepreneur? Somebody that has a dream, somebody that has some drive, and a pair of balls. You know, because it's risky, and you take a lot of chances. You know, one of the things that was probably the best thing for me on this journey, this August will be 30 years, right? Was when I first started, no one knew me in the area, started in the back of a pickup truck, and I had no family here. I mean, I was, besides my girlfriend and her family, I was by myself.
Are you from Norwich originally?
From Norwich, Shenango County, yes. And, you know, knocking on doors and trying to get people's attention to show them what I could do for them, I got a lot of no's. But one thing that it was a drive for me. You know, I read a bunch of articles. An older gentleman who was kind of a mentor to me on the carpet warehouse. His name was Cal Kells. Awesome guy. I did some countertop work for him, installed some cabinetry for him way back in the early 80s. And he told me that when you're calling on somebody to be your client, it could take 6 to 7 no's before you're going to get a yes. So that's what I did. I just kept on knocking on that door, and if I ever had that door open a sliver and I could get my foot in it, I felt confident that that was done. I was in. And that's basically how I kind of grown and had drive. It's not easy starting a business. You know, you got a lot of things you got to deal with.
Well, with that drive, was there ever a time when you got started? I know starting at zero, you have to start somewhere. Every great story ever told started at zero. Was there any time in the beginning when you were just out hustling with your toolbox and your knowledge and your hard work and blood, sweat, and tears? Like I said, when I walked through, it's 50,000 square feet of blood, sweat, and tears. And now you have 80 employees. Was there anything, and now it's different because there's a huge responsibility now with a business this large. Anything at the beginning where you could see a change in the course of how you were going to grow from zero to millions? Maybe it was the fear of failure or no fear of failure. What do you think at that point when you went from a one-man band to saying, I mean, you've owned this building now, what, 20 years?
I closed on this building a month before 9/11, so I purchased it in 2001.
Okay, good. So you've been in this building 16 years now, and when you started this building, it's a big building.
Correct.
And what was it like at that point? Did something change when you were a one-man band or had a couple guys on your crew and you said, listen, I'm taking it to the next level? Because there's so many people out there who live in fear of failure. And we all have that fear. I guess maybe it's just managed.
Fear of failure has been the biggest drive of my life. And you know, I'm 54. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've had some things happen in my business career over the last 6 years that I would say probably 80% of the people would have packed it and said, "Forget it. I'm going to go do something else." So you know, there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of sleepless nights. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of tears. But the fear of failure is the biggest thing, because when you have 80 employees, it's not just that you have 80 employees, you have 80 families. You know, some of these families have a lot of kids that are in college, high school, they have things they have to deal with. You know, being a business owner or an entrepreneur, not only are you need to know your craft, but you also have to be a financial counselor. You have to be a marriage counselor. You have to play lawyer. You have to play doctor. You know, I have an open door policy. My door's always open. No matter who you are, if you have a problem or a situation or a question, you can come in and talk to me. So I find a lot of times that I have employees that are in a spot and, you know, they need guidance and help. Not that I have all the answers, but I have 30 years of experience in getting my head beat in. I mean, you know, you can go to college, you can get an education. Doesn't mean you're going to be successful. You know, a lot of the people that are successful business owners, small business owners, people that I meet on a daily basis, we all went to the school of hard knocks. You know, you get hit, you turn around, you run into a wall, you figure out how you're going to get over and around it. So, you know, there's so many things that you have to deal with, and you know, fear of failure is probably the ultimate thing. You know, if this goes bad, there's a lot of people that are going to be affected by it.
Yeah, that's great that you brought that up, because I wanted to really touch on the relationship you have with your employees. I think, at 80 employees, I mean, that's near the top of where you've been as far as supporting families in the local region. And you've had a lot of successes, and I haven't talked about them yet because I wanted to kind of lead into some other pieces. With those 80 employees, that allows you, with a building this size, the manufacturing and fabrication facility you have. I know some of those machines, it's like $1 million machine back there, like cutting granite, correct?
Yeah, there's almost $3 million worth of equipment, infrastructure. So yeah, it's an operation. There's no doubt about it.
And that allows you, and this is like a lot of people's dream. A lot of people's dream would be, I got a great idea. I'm going to manufacture something. I have an idea. I'm going to patent something, or I'm going to create something. I have this wonderful scenario. If I could only get my product or my service that I'm offering into Walmart, so to speak, my life would change. Or if I could ever get on Home Shopping Network, I'd sell so many units. It would, what about the guy who got lucky and sold whatever widget? 1 million units later, the guy's retiring, living down in Palm Beach with a yacht and the whole 9 yards. But that's not always the case. For example, you've got the equipment, you've got the employees, you've got the skill and knowledge, you've got the business experience, the acumen, everything's in place, and you have the ability, and had the ability, and still do with one of the two, to do business exclusively as a premium partner with Home Depot and Lowe's, doing all of their solid surface.
Correct.
So a lot of people who are in the construction craft would say, if I could ever get into Home Depot or I could ever get into Lowe's, my life would change forever. But which way would it change? I mean, you have a different perspective. Tell us, the story about Home Depot and Lowe's and what you've gone through.
Well, it's the old adage: be careful of what you ask for. We over the past 16 years, we've been involved in home centers. We first started with Home Depot. It was a battle and a race to get there. And once you finally get there, it's not as glamorous as everybody thinks it is. We've been out of the Home Depot range, their stores for 7 years, 8 years. But we service Lowe's, and we have 27 Lowe's stores that we service. There's good, bad. Some of the things that I think people don't realize is there's a lot of things that are dictated to you. This is what you're going to charge us. This is what you're going to do. You have so many days or so many hours to respond to a customer. So there's, when we got into it, we learned that there were some things we had to do and we had to change. More trucks, more installers, more people, more infrastructure, salespeople inside answering phones. I have 2 people dedicated daily just to handle the Lowe's business. It's a nice volume business. I think they're they're a good company. Obviously, they're successful. They have a lot of stores out there. But I think the biggest misconception and where people have issues is that you can bite off a little more than you can chew. You can sell the home center that you can do the job, and then once you get all that and you start seeing all that business come in and you have to react to a scenario in 7 to 10 days, but you're structured that you take 4 or 5 weeks, it's not going to work. Now you're geared up, you can't do it, now what do you do? So when you go in, you've got to have your eyes wide open. You need to ask a lot of questions. And the countertop industry's been around for a long time. DuPont Corian's been around for 50 years, 45 years, and there's no breeding ground. It's a figure it out yourself. How are we going to do this? How are we going to handle all this stuff? I can't call or I can't read a textbook, or there's no, because it's a first generation industry for the most part. So it's try it. Oh, that didn't work. We got to do something different. So you got to do your homework. You got to ask a lot of questions. One thing DuPont did for the fabricators is they have an awesome networking, and I can deal with fabricators in Boston. I can call people in Chicago. I can call people in Florida. I have friends all over the country that I've met at these conferences over the last 16 years that you forge relationships with, who are smaller than you, who are bigger than you, and we all talk because we all have nuances. People do business in California totally different than they do in New York State, right? Florida, Georgia. So
I can't wait to talk to you about networking and building relationships with people in your industry and other industries, and we'll get to that for sure. And that's a great point that you brought that up, because that support team around you can make or break the biggest deal of your life.
Well, obviously, President Trump is a very polarizing person. I followed him since college. I read all his books, and I never read the books in high school until I got out. I started reading, and say what you want about the man, but there's some things in there that you can pull from really talking to anybody on the street. But one of the things that always stuck with me from him was, you're only as good as who you surround yourself with. That's your employees, your family, your friends, your networking. And that's something that always stuck with me, that I try to surround myself with good people. It helps me and it helps them.
It's perfect. And this good environment here too, because a good working environment, a good environment for customers, clients, consumers to come in, and they have to be impressed with this working showroom. And I remember years and years ago when you started the project and what your vision was, but I didn't really know until it was up and running and perfectly running, when it was smooth, when you had a couple 100-gallon saltwater fish tank, and you've got all of the electronics and everything. It was like the official launch of the 144 working showroom, where the passion to complete this project and to roll this out to the public as basically an extension of your showroom, to give your salesperson people the ability to be successful, to sell the jobs and give them examples. Can you get really specific about where this whole concept came from, how long it took you to build, maybe some of the finances behind it, and how you were so convinced that this was going to change your business that it didn't matter how much money you invested in it?
We, it really kind of started one fateful day, and it was, I received a phone call from a local restaurateur that everybody knows, Angelo Mazzone, who I've been trying to do business with for a long time, but nobody knew me. And he was building this project in Albany called 677 Prime, and he really didn't know what he wanted to do. He's a strong-willed person. He's a phenomenal man. He's been awesome for my business. He gave me a break, and the break was that he came into my shop and sat down, and his idea was on a napkin, and that's how the whole process started that way. But what I found difficult moving forward with the project was dealing with the individual, the owner, direct. No architects were involved at that point. It was all ideas. I kind of had passion on what I wanted to do. I could talk to him about it, but he couldn't see it. He doesn't know my craft. I don't know his craft. And once we got to the point where he was comfortable with me that I was going to give him what he wanted, the project was one of the better projects and one of the most influential projects in my career path, was building 677 Prime. Finished the project, very successful. Now I want to take that to the next level. You can talk to people, but if they can't see it, they can't touch it, they can't feel it, most people don't understand it. So one Sunday, I'm in here. I'm here every Sunday pretty much. I'm walking around and I go, I got to do something. And it started with the wine lockers, because I built the wine lockers at 677. So I said, I should show that. I kind of liked it. And then it evolved. I love to cook. And we're always cooking. And then it just all revolved to the point where I show the coffered ceilings. I kind of give them the idea of what a bar looks like, how you can make a residential kitchen kind of commercial, or you can make a commercial kitchen kind of residential. And it just kind of all, we've known each other for a long time. This has been a work in process for, 2006, 2007. So 677 Prime, I think last year was their 10th anniversary, so 11 years. So I built this 9 years ago. It cost me $250,000. It was time, it was stressful, but in the end, you spend a lot of time here. It's fun. It's functional and it's fun. We do a lot of contractor nights here, where I'll invite builders, remodelers. I'll go to a specific general contractor, say, bring 10 people over. We'll wine and dine them. I cook all the food here. I got some friends that help. We put on a great show. They get to see our work. They get to walk the shop. They get to see our capabilities. When you drive by this building, you have no clue what's inside. But I think the part that is most rewarding for me with this place is the YMCA uses it for their the Glenville Y, they use it for their Christmas parties. I have a lot of local women's networks that come in and use it, and so it's constantly there's outside functions that are here all the time. I don't charge anything for anybody. My goal is if somebody walks in here and it's the first time here, they buy something, or they're sitting at a party playing bridge, and they tell, hey, I'm in the market for a kitchen. Oh, you got to go see this place. So it's kind of like a museum type thing. It's not a typical showroom.
Yeah, you got wonderful sports memorabilia around, and you've got your displays, and folks can obviously get a feel of the tenor and tone on how you do business. And they think immediately, I mean, what I thought immediately, even during the construction phase, because every single detail was thought out.
Correct.
If you're doing that here in your business as a showroom for anyone to come in and see, how much care are you going to take with my home, my residence, or my business? I know you're going to be right there.
I take it personally.
Yeah, and that's obviously the work you've done at the Edison Club and the work that you've done now at Schenectady Muni, doing that whole thing, which is a last-minute project thrown on you.
Well, they had a pipe burst, and it was an emergency situation. And you know, because I've been doing it a long time, I know what stretch an imagination of my home, or do I have retirement in my mind? None whatsoever. We've built this business where we're kind of like a strike force because we handle everything. We make it, we design it, and we install it. And I received a phone call from Ray Lugier and said, hey, we got a situation over at the golf course, a pipe burst, and we got a problem. And I went over and it was already gutted. And he goes, I need a bar, I need a countertop, and I need wall paneling. And I said, how much time do I got? And he laughed. He goes, about 10 days. I go, you know, it takes me 10 days to get material. We turned the bar around in 4 days, and we put the countertop on the 5th day. And today I got guys over there. I got two crews over there right now finishing up the wall paneling. So there's a lot of good with having 80 employees. There's a lot of bad having 80 employees. The good thing is we can react to a scenario because we kind of we control everything. So it helps us service the restaurants, the bars, the golf courses, because you know they have certain times and windows where they can't have a project that's going to take 6 months. They got a project they can give you 6 days. So you have to have structure, infrastructure, and people, the ability to do something like that. So we'll kind of react to scenarios when we can.
I got to get into something that might be a sore subject with you, but we just absolutely have to. 2002, you're nominated for the 40 under 40 Capital Region with the Business Review. 2003, you get Schenectady County Small Business of the Year. 2006, you get the Capital Region YMCA President's Award. And 2007, you're part of the TV show The Extreme Makeover in Colony, working with George Amador and Amador Homes to redo that entire residence, which is really cool. And then now you're just on the other end, not spit out of it, but you're just on the other end, which was obviously your choice, politics. You just spent the last handful of years in politics. So I say politics, politics, politics. Why? Why? Why would you? And George did the same thing. Got done with the extreme, not that extreme makeover sends people into politics, but after the extreme makeover, that was something that was passionate to him, and now he's in Senate, and you know you were here on the town board and served in Scotia with the administration. So take us through that journey.
Actually, I didn't serve in Scotia. I served in Glendale.
In Glendale.
They have there's two different functions. You know, I think people get into politics for the right reasons, and I think people get into politics for the wrong reasons. I got in for a specific reason, and that specific reason was Glendale was kind of a very difficult place to do business, and there were some things that had to change. And I was involved in a lot of groups. You know, I was one of the initial people that put together the Glendale Oktoberfest, a community organization. And I served on some boards, served on the Y board, served on a town business group for the town. And so I got to know the people. I got to know the political people. I got to know a lot of the non-for-profit people. And small business owner on Freeman's Bridge Road was being displaced because of Lowe's. And what kind of struck me was he showed up to my shop one day and said, listen, everywhere I go, they tell me, you got to go see Al. You got to go see Al. So he came in, and he had a 150 signature petitions signed from local residents and business owners about him being displaced and not finding, there was a lot of regulations where he could only go in certain places. And, a small business owner has to fight a lot of battles. And I said, Rick, let me see what I can do. So I went to the town, that administration, and said, hey, can't we help this guy? And I was told by some people that I should stay out of it. And I said,
That's it.
I said, really? I said, okay, I should stay out of it. And there were some conversations that were made. There were some tacks that were made, and I decided that, all right,
Now you're in it.
I'm in. And I was in. And then I started talking to some people and grabbed some people, and we got together and we ran. We were successful, and that business owner is still on Freeman's Bridge Road. And we made it a little smoother and a little simpler to do business in the town of Glenville. And I did it for 8 years. It was stressful. It's not about the money. And I saw politicians. I see the attacks. I witness the attacks that you're seeing on what's happening in the national scene. It's a microcosm, but it happens on local levels too. And I got to meet a lot of people, and I think there's a lot of people in politics for the wrong reasons. I think there's a lot of people in politics for a good reason. If you're going to enter local politics, do it for a reason. Not because you want the money, not because you think you can change the world, or you don't like the way the finances are, because it's a total different animal than it is as being in business. I did it for a little over 7 years. I was going to have to run this year. My business we're too busy. I just didn't have time for it, and I went out on my own terms. So if you're going to go into politics, do it for the right reason and have a cause. Don't go in there because you think this guy that's doing it now is an idiot or a moron, because we hear all that stuff. A thief. It's not what it really is not what's perceived, because there's a lot to it. And we have a great group in Glenville. I love the people that are running the town. They're doing a great job. So I guess my only advice is, if you're going to get into it, be careful what you ask for, but do it for the right reason and do it for a cause. Don't just do it.
Nice. Well, that was when we spoke about you getting out, or what you were thinking or potentially getting out. It was obviously the reason you got in was the right reason, and I think the reason that you got out, obviously, because you've got so many families to support and your focus has to be here all the time. I think that, I don't know if you would agree, but I think that's the right reason to get out if you're going to get out as well.
Absolutely. I got in for the right reasons, and I got out for the right reasons. I did run a few years ago for county ledge. Biggest mistake I ever made. That's not my personality. I'm not a politician. I'm a business owner. I have compassion, and I live my life basically on common sense. And common sense, especially in the political world, there's very little common sense. I scratch my head a lot of the times over things that were done and why is this being done this way. But there's a lot of unions involved. There's a lot of personalities involved. There's a lot of ego involved. So it's tough to navigate. I did my deal. I think I got in for the right reason to do something, and I did what I had to do. And there's a lot of good people coming up, and I'm a strong believer in term limits. Huge believer in term limits, local and national.
Let's hope that they start rolling that through. Widespread.
We hope. Yeah, but my political career's over. I'm done. There's other things I want to do. I'm a community guy. I love community functions. Hannah's Hope, Matt Sames and Lori Sames. The family's dear to my heart. We've done a lot of fundraisers here for them. I like helping people. That's probably one of the things that's growing a business and getting to the point where I can help other people. Putting on fundraisers and things like that. I do a lot of that stuff, and I'm still, if there's a cause out there and it needs some help, I'll help.
I want to wrap up the conversation with circling back around, like I mentioned earlier, with the networking and building the relationships. And I know you've been a member of the Edison Club for a long time, probably going on 10 years now, right?
I think this is my
12th year, beautiful. And the power of networking.
Getting a little plug in there.
Oh, there we go. Edison Club, right. And I understand, I'm a huge networker. I love networking. I love building relationships. I love developing a trust with someone even before I ever do business with them. I want them to do business with me because they trust me and they respect me and my reputation, credibility, whatever. And I know you're very similar that way. And you joined the Edison Club, and it was kind of a
a mental switch once you were in that world to then start doing business with some of the folks at the Edison Club. And I believe building relationships and networks and surrounding yourself, exactly like you said, surrounding yourself with the most qualified people to give a personal referral. Because my business is a lot about personal referrals. If there's something that we don't have an expertise at, we want to refer you to someone that we know will treat you the same way we would treat you. And the only way to develop those relationships is to network. And you've shared with me many times specifically how you network in a golf environment or at a golf club, and how important that is for you, not only from a personal perspective, but for a business perspective, and how different that is now than when you first started networking, so to speak, around golf.
You know, when I first joined, it was more I love the game, and you know I kind of was asked by some really close friends, you ought to try this place. I think you'll have fun. I didn't go in there with the premise that I was gonna. It was to do business. That wasn't even in my mind. It was all right. I want to join this league. I want to play every Tuesday. I want to meet these guys. I want to get better. And then it just evolved to the point where it's a social thing. They're great people. You know, they're business owners. There's lawyers. There's doctors. There's just every walk of life up there. You can't judge the book by the cover. And what has evolved over the last 6 or 7 years, that I'm the countertop and cabinet guy up there, you know. And it's funny, on Tuesday nights when we won our league, you know, I'll be walking through the crowd, hey guys, what's going on, what's happening, how you doing? And the guy will look me right in the face. I've known him for 12 years. Stay away from my wife. And I look at him, he goes, because I know if you see my wife, you're going to sell her something. I go, I'll give your wife a call today. You know, and it's just the joke and stuff that goes on with that. It's fun, but you know, it's turned into a very beneficial thing for my company that I do a lot of business up there. And that evolved into where, you know, you can grab 3 guys, put a foursome together of business owners and go play golf and do business. You know, people get their chops busted. Oh, you're doing business on the golf course. A lot of
talk specifically about that, because that's the perception I want you to smash, because business does get done there. Business gets done in networking groups and referral groups.
Absolutely.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Because how else are you going to build your network? But really dig into that.
Well, you know, I've been asked to be involved in a lot of the networking groups, and it's just not my thing. I do some of them. I love the golf course. I love the golf course environment. I'll call 3 guys and say, come on. And they're different walks of life. And sometimes it could be 2 of the three guys don't play golf. I don't care that you can't play golf. Come on, let's go. You know, we'll have lunch. We'll go on the golf course. And it's amazing how much business you can get done. You're a real person there. You know, you're not, when you're in a large scenario, people get tight, they get tense. They're not being themselves. I've never really had a problem with that, so to speak. But you get on the golf course and it's just 4 of you. You know, you got a beer, you got a soda, you got a cigar, you're whacking a golf ball, you're hitting it into the woods, you're busting each other's chops. You talk a little bit of business, but when you're done, you shake your hand, they remember that. And when they need your services, oh no, you got to talk to this guy, it's awesome, he's fun. Because you see the real side of people. A lot of times when you go to these functions and these fundraisers and stuff, and everybody's got the suit and tie on, you don't really know what they're thinking or what their motives are. But you give somebody in a golf environment or fishing, you really find out what that person's like and what they're really about. And it's awesome for me. I can't wait. It's going to be 80 next week, and I'm going to try to find a course somewhere and go play golf and grab a couple buddies and just talk about business. But I think that the golf course is a phenomenal place to do business, to enjoy yourself, and network.
Think about how much money it saves you by networking instead of advertising. So you've got a business that 2017 should be the $10 million year for you. How much money do you plan in 2017 to spend on traditional advertising?
Very little. You know, what happened last year with the whole election process and the media and all that stuff gave me a real sour taste in my mouth. And I started looking at where I was spending my money. my dollars on marketing and advertising, and I didn't see any value. You know, we ask a lot of people when they come in, how do you find out about us? And I will tell you, 99% to 95% to 99% of the people said, word of mouth. I drove by your building. You know, they didn't say I heard about you on the radio, because I did it. I saw you on TV, but it didn't make any sense to me. You know, I've done some print things. I just didn't see the value. So, you know, where I put those dollars is I'll do a function, I'll open house, but I'll go to these golf outings. I find a lot of value. The chamber is a big one in my heart. Chuck Steiner, I love the man. He's going through some struggles right now, but that type of thing for me is I find value in that. You do a little advertising in that, but you go to those functions and you're playing golf and
You
you're having
build that relationship, and then all of a sudden, when they come into the showroom here, now it's emotional.
Correct.
Now they're connected with you, and they put you with the business, and they look at all the hard work and all the attention to detail and the pride you have in your business and how you treat 80 employees and their family. The rest is history.
Correct.
That's how you go from 0 to 10 million.
But it's not, you know, it's not, money can't, you know, money can't buy all this stuff. You know, it's blood, sweat, and tears. You know, I've talked to people. I probably should have closed this place 5 times in the 30 years that I've been doing it. But I don't give up. And you know, I graduated high school. My SATs were 760, combined 760. My guidance counselor said, "Alan, you should think about going to work for your father." True story. And I knew the woman well. And the daughter was a very close friend of mine. And you know, I said, "Whoa!" And then you know, I was going to be a cop. And I worked for the sheriff's department for 3 years. I was on the road. I did the jail thing and all that stuff. And I just said, you know what? Here I am in a small town. I know everybody. I know everybody on this side of the bars, and I know everybody on that side of the bars. And I said, you know what? Small town, I can't do it. And then the guidance counselor's daughter goes to Cobleskill. She's the statistician for the baseball team. She comes home. I'm at the Grand Union working, and she says, "Alan, there's a party tonight. Why don't you come over?" I said, "All right, I'll come over." So I grabbed some beverages, went over, had a party, and she says, "Hey, you ought to think about going to Cobleskill." I go, "Well, I can't get in there." She says, "They need a catcher." So I went to my baseball coach. I had him write me a letter. I called the baseball coach at Cobleskill. I went to Cobleskill. It was right around the beginning of December, and right after the winter break in January, I went to Cobleskill because I could play baseball. And then it just evolved. I met Robin. She lives in Scotia. I move out here, and here we are.
What a great story.
$500. August 17th, 1987. I said, you know what, I gotta do this. And I would not take no for an answer. You know, I understood people had relationships. I respect relationships. I have a lot of them. My insurance, my doctors, my lawyers, my accountants. It's all relationships. When things don't work out, then you change the relationship. And if you keep knocking on a door long enough, it's a timing thing. You got to be in the right place at the right time and somehow get their attention. And that's, you know, and then, you know, when I first started, everybody said Corion's not going to be anything. Boulan's a jewelry maker. He's never going to go anywhere. All my competitions, that guy's not going to make it. You know, they pull into the place to buy their materials. They fill their pickup truck with it. They go. I walk out. I leave with one piece of Corion that costs more than everything those guys had in their truck to go build. And they said, it's never going to work. A lot of those guys are working for me today. And you know, you just gotta go for it. And you know, when you think that it's over, it's not over. It's just beginning. You just got to figure out how to get through it. And you know, my father passed away at a young age, multiple sclerosis, terrible disease. That gave me drive. You know, and I always wanted to name something after my father, and that's where the Paul Perry Kitchens. People think it's a national chain. Paul Perry Kitchens is named after my father, Paul Perry Boulan. My son's in there running it now. Does my heart justice. So you know, you gotta do what your gut says. I run my business on my gut. My gut. If I'm standing there talking to somebody, they got this big job and they talk fast and all this other stuff. You know, they're a little more educated, a little more sophisticated than I am. In my stomach, if my stomach starts churning and gets into knots, I go, I don't think we're going to work out. And a lot of times that's worked for me. Not all the time. Sometimes it doesn't get you. But I would say the lion's share of the times, my stomach's told me yes or no. You get that warm fuzzy, you go for it. But you know, when I lost my father, I didn't have anybody to talk to. You know, I didn't have any mentors, and I've forged those relationships over time. The Gary Lombardis, the Angelo Mazzones, the Cal Kellises of the world, the Chuck Steiners of the world. They sounding boards for me. You know, they always took the time to sit down and talk to me and answer the questions for me. If they couldn't answer the question, they would help me find the answer. So, you know, again, you're only as good as who you surround yourself with.
And I feel blessed to have you in that role with me
Well,
as a
likewise.
mentor, and you know, always bouncing things off you, and you giving me wise counsel continually. And you know, thank you for spending this time with us. And I'd say good luck, but you don't need it. You've got it figured out. Thanks so much. Congratulations on your success, Al.
To be continued.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thanks.